This program contains violent content which may be too intense for some. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening, everyone. How are you on this Tuesday? Kind of lost track of the days being on vacation. Oh, yeah, but I had a good time, well rested, and we're back at it today. So I just wanted to recap. Oh, let me bring Andrea on so I don't forget to bring her on. Hello, Andrea. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. So I just wanted to do a little recap of last week. We read through Andrew Bush's statement, and now we are on his deposition. The statement and the deposition are very different. He was forthcoming with his answers in a statement, correct, Andrea?
Yes.
All right. This deposition is a lot different. Either he has had a sense warp of thinking, or he was just trying not to name people in the first part of this deposition.
And he said he had no friends.
Yeah, and he had no friends. So, let's see here. So basically, the first part of this deposition, we learned that his father, Leroy, was an alcoholic and druggie, and pretty much let Andrew do whatever he wanted. Andrew knew a lot of people and kids in Tipton, and he was a major drug dealer. Everybody knew him, according to his own words. He admitted he would be in a comatose state and zombified after taking all his drugs. He admitted he had a lot of blank spots, but he could remember exactly what happened to Tabby that night that she died. He was hesitant to admit people he hung out with and were friends with, even though he didn't consider people he did drugs with as friends.
And he didn't remember what time it was exactly.
Right. He said Amanda, his girlfriend, and him broke up because he went to the carburetor day in Indy and wouldn't take her. However, a source I have says she broke up with him because he didn't tell her he was going and he lied to her. This source also said Amanda never lived with Andrew at the Bowden house. Only Andrew and Chris Baker stayed there. The source says Chris was with Andrew when he came back from Florida. Chris left after Tabby was killed. Lived at the Bowen house till September, when both Andrew and Chris were kicked out. They lived in the Andrew lived in the trailer in Windfall for a very short time, not as long as he said he did, and Chris did not live there with him at all. And Amanda did not visit that trailer. He worked with Jason Jackson, Matt Clauser, knew Heather Harp, Tony Edwards, Willie Savage, and many others after the attorney drug out all these names from him. Said he shot up at the park maybe 4 or 5 times his whole life, and then went on to say later that him and Matt sat at the park getting high since he was 15. And he said they did that all the time. He knew a couple of police officers personally. He met Tabby in school, got high after school, and Tabby complained about her and Mike and how they were not too happy 2 weeks prior to her dying. So those are some of the key things that I just wanted to summarize. Tonight, we're going to go and try to finish this up. There's a lot to read. If we don't finish it up tonight, we'll finish it up tomorrow night and give his polygraph results. Okay, so Andrea, are we on page 53 as far as the little pages?
Yes. Well, no, the little page, the little pages is 53.
Okay. So the first
The big
question
pages.
The first question is, had you consumed it all by the time you say that Liz and Yates and Neff came?
Yes.
All right. We just want to make sure we're starting where we left off.
That's where we left off.
We're going to read a couple pages, and then we're going to stop and talk about what was read and see if you guys have any questions and answer those. So as we're reading, if you have any questions, put them in the chat, and then we will stop and answer those. Okay, go ahead and start with the question, Andrea.
Okay, and I'm do they know that I'm reading Robert Albin's questions?
Oh, no, we should say that again.
I'm reading Robert Albin's questions, who is Liz Balser's attorney.
Yep. And I'm
Marv
reading
is
Andrew Bush.
Okay. Had you consumed it all by the time that you say that Liz and Yates and Neff came?
No, I still had some in there, and that was the one. Yeah, I still had some in there.
What? You started to say something. That was the one question. What?
No, that it was just a question in my mind when.
What?
I was wondering what I did with the bottle. I was thinking about that the other day, and for the life of me, I don't remember whether I ran with it home or not. I probably did. I don't know.
All right. And the Xanax that you taken that day, when did you take it? Did you have some of that while you were at the park too?
No, I don't think I took any at the park. I think I took some like around 2 or 3, and then I think I took 2 more a little later on, like at 6. 6
Okay.
or 7.
Okay.
I'm not really sure on the times. I know I took them twice that day.
Well, you seem to be pretty certain about 11 o'clock. Why is this such a magic hour for you?
That's what time I looked at my watch right when I got home.
When you got home?
Uh-huh.
All right. So and how long do you think it took you to run home?
15 minutes maybe.
All right. And so that, how long do you think you were at the park from the time Tabby came till the time that the shooting occurred?
It was good, probably a good 15, 20 minutes, maybe a little longer.
So then you're putting, could it have been an hour longer?
No, I mean,
Half hour?
I don't know what time I got at the park exactly. Like I said, I think it was between 9:30 and 10, but I'm not really sure.
Well, let's just work backwards, okay? We know.
Okay.
You know for a fact you got home at 11 o'clock on October the 2nd.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes, I do know that.
And you know it for a fact. At that point in time, 15 minutes before, that is when you saw Tabby being shot in the head.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how long it took me to run home, but it could have took me more than 15 minutes, so...
Okay, so the shooting
Uh-huh.
had to have taken place
Around 10:30 or 10:45.
okay, between 10:30 and 10:45.
Yeah, about.
There's just no question about it because it was 11 o'clock at night when you got home, right?
When I got home, yeah,
Is that a fact?
that's a fact.
Okay, and you think that Tabby may have been there for a half an hour, 15 minutes to a half an hour before? Mr. Rich, I think he said 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, 15 or 20 minutes.
Back to Alden. Okay, could it have been, but it couldn't have been an hour?
No, it could have been slightly more, but it couldn't have been an hour more.
So it could have been a half an hour.
Possibly, but
Okay.
I don't like I don't like you know what I mean? I was effed up.
Okay.
And I was way out there, but
But considering all the times you've been high
uh-huh.
without passing out, would you say that you were about as high as you could get without passing out at this point in time?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was real close. I mean, I went home, but by the time I went home, I was scared sober,
Okay, but
But yeah,
at the time that you were at the park.
yeah, at the time I was pretty close to unconscious. Yeah. I was pretty close.
Okay, and at the time that Liz called for you to come over in the shooting, you were still in the same zone, right?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. That's when the other pill just started to kick in.
Which other pill?
The one I snorted. Because it starts to kick in like about 10 or 15 minutes after you do it.
Okay.
That's when you start to feel it. And I remember that because I started itching. Now that I think about that, it makes me itch.
So when you're standing after you've been called over there and Liz begins talking to Tabby, at that point in time, really nothing meant anything to you at that point in time either, right?
No, not real. I wasn't. What do you mean by meant anything to me, though?
Well, I mean, it's not like you said when by the time you ran home, you were scared sober.
Right?
But when you walked over there, you didn't know anything was going to happen. So
No.
there was no reason to get scared sober at that point in time, right?
Right, right.
Okay. So you were still in the same zone area.
Uh-huh.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And the whole time that there was any conversations, you were in the same zone area, right?
Yeah.
When you get like that, you say you're just kind of hanging and you're kind of slobbering. Are
Well,
are your eyes about half open, half shut, or what? How?
it's not like, I don't know. It's hard to explain on it.
Well, you've watched other people in the same
I mean,
situation, right?
yeah. I mean, it's like you know what's going on. You're aware of what's going on. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not, you can't understand what people are saying. It's not like you can't see straight. It's, it's just so, I don't know. You can't explain it, man. It's, you can't explain how Oxycontin feel. You know, I can't explain it. You'd have to take it to know how it feels, you know? But, I mean, if you're asking me if my judgment was impaired, no,
Does it have the same effect as Vicodin?
no.
Is it a much greater effect?
It's 1,000 times stronger than that.
1,000 times stronger than a Vicodin?
Yeah,
So if the normal person would take like 2 Vicodin
if a normal person.
for pain or something like that,
If a normal person would take 20 milligrams of that, of Oxycontin, they'd die. That's how high my tolerance was for it. You know what I mean? Yeah, if you took a 20, you'd probably die.
okay, and I know your body, obviously you didn't die, but you took enough that it would have the most major effect on you possible. Is that right?
Well, the thing is, too, with just like heroin and crack and oxys, the first time is the as high as you'll ever get. So no, I wasn't as high as I could possibly be.
All right, well, let's just do it in a way, in a range so that I can understand it and everybody's
Okay.
going to understand where you were because you've been animated. In other words, you've said with a lot of emotion, yeah, I was really,
Yeah.
really high. So from 1 to 100 range, and I being the just totally sober and 100 being unconscious.
I was 99 then.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were that way all the way up until the shooting itself. Is that right?
I kind of snapped back to reality as soon as Tabby got hit in her head.
Okay.
Then I mean, it wasn't like I was never out of it anyways. You know what I mean? I knew what was going on. I know what I'm trying to say. I know what was being said, you know. The oxys don't impair your judgment.
Okay. Does it impair your memory?
It could impair short-term memory, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to say it does.
Well,
I mean, you know,
how about long-term memory?
I don't know.
So,
You know, I can't really say that, but I know it doesn't affect judgment as far as right from wrong and knowing if you said purple or yellow.
right?
I know what you said.
I'm talking about memory, not judgment, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, well, have you tried to recollect things?
Well, yeah, but marijuana's proven to affect memory, and I was smoking weed too, so.
Right. So you got the marijuana that affected your memory,
Yeah.
and you got the
Xanax. If you take Xanax and abuse them, when you wake up in the morning, you normally don't remember what happened at all the night before.
and you abused Xanax that night, right?
Yeah, but like I said, normally you'll black out. I didn't necessarily black out.
Right, but you were right there. We talked about the percentage being
Yeah,
0 to 100, and you said
I was right there.
you were 99,
Yeah.
right? All right. Now, once again, let's go back to the pavilion. You're sitting there. You've had all these drugs / alcohol. You're by yourself. There's nobody else in the park except this lady walking the dog that you're aware of, right?
No audible response.
And it's about 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, you think.
Uh-huh.
As a matter of fact, it would have had to have been around 10 or 10:15, the way you've worked it backwards. If the shooting was at 11 o'clock and it took you 15 minutes to run home, so that would be about, if you got home at 11 and the shooting was 15 minutes before, because it took you 15 minutes to run home, that would have been about 10:45. And then you think you were there with Tabby for about a half an hour. So that being about 10:15 when Tabby came. Is that accurate, Mr. Rich? Again, I think Andrew's already said that he thinks it was closer to 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, 15 to 20 minutes, yeah.
Mr. Alden. Okay, so the earliest she could have got there was 10:15, but you think it was maybe closer to 10:30. Is that correct?
You got me lost here.
All right. Well, let's just use a little chart here. You got home at 11 o'clock.
Yep.
15 minutes to run home.
Yep. That's 10:45.
That's 10:45.
Okay.
That's shooting time, right?
Right.
Tabby was there for no more than a half an hour, and you think it was maybe even 15 or 20 minutes.
Correct.
So if it was 15 minutes before, then Tabby would have arrived at 10:30.
Right.
If it was a half an hour before that she got there, then the earliest she could have got there would have been 10:15.
Right.
Is that exactly right?
That'd be correct.
Okay, and that's PM. That's at night.
Yep. All right, let's
Right?
take a time out.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. So he's saying that he was 99% high, which means he was almost ready to go unconscious. And we're supposed to believe that it did not affect his judgment. Oh my goodness, okay. So it didn't affect his judgment.
But yet he said he smoked marijuana, and that affects your long-term memory.
Right. So it
So
didn't
if that
affect his
affects your
judgment or
long-term memory,
clarity.
so if marijuana affects your long-term memory, how does he remember the times?
Right. How does he remember anything that went on that
Anything,
night?
exactly. And this is only 7 months after the shooting.
Right. So one thing that's interesting is he's saying the earliest she got to the park is 10:15.
In this deposition.
in this deposition. But Kyle Neff said that he stopped at the village pantry at 8:30
8:30.
and told Tabitha to meet her or meet them at the park in a half an hour.
Right.
So that would have made it 9 o'clock, not 10:15.
Right.
So there's some big discrepancies going on in time again. And yes, Mark is right. You don't get scared sober while on that much drugs. I wouldn't think so. So if anybody who has done drugs like that can tell me that yes, you can scare yourself sober, let me know. But our times are definitely off again. And this would make more sense. More proof he's coming forward with what he is told to, or he was going to be held accountable for. But the times still don't match.
No.
His times do not match Kyle's times at all.
Even if he was told what to say.
Right. And why is Mr. Rich jumping in there, kind of helping out Andrew Bush during this deposition?
Maybe
That's
because
my
he thought he was
question.
badgering maybe he thought he was badgering the witness.
I didn't see it. He was just trying to get the facts and the time down.
Well, and anybody that's read these depositions, which isn't very few or very many, know that this attorney, even in up to what we've read so far, everybody can see he repeatedly asks questions, the same questions, even in different forms,
Right,
over and over to get an answer.
right.
So why wasn't Jay stepping in all those other times?
Right. It's just weird that all of a sudden he jumps in and says, again, I think Andrew already said that he thinks it was closer to 15 to 20 minutes.
Right.
He should have never said that.
Mm-mm.
Because this timeline is important. So putting times in this, and then Andrew pops in with, 15 or 20 minutes, like Jay Rich is reminding him of his timetable.
Right.
So wrong. Okay.
Which it still would have been right, even 15, 20 minutes.
Right. I just don't see how he could remember anything. If he was 99%
Especially being
high,
99%. Right, exactly.
almost unconscious.
Right.
How could he remember anything that happened that night? And then he said, and then when you do go home and you fall asleep the next morning, you can't wake up and you can't remember anything.
Right.
So why
I'm
is
saying
it that he can remember this night?
Right. Well, he said the last time he took Xanax was like 6 or 7 o'clock that night.
Right.
And what he took at the park was Oxycontin.
Right.
So maybe that's why he's saying he remembered it. Because it wasn't Xanax that he took.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Like I said, a lot of head scratching.
Yes. All right. Let's move on with the next question.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. When where exactly was it that you first saw Tabby when she arrived there that night?
She was walking across the cement bridge from the pool.
And let's refer you to defendant's deposition, Exhibit A, okay?
Okay.
You've made some marks on this and you've labeled some things.
Right.
Would you say that you've drawn represents what? That you've drawn represents the road.
No, that represents the creek.
The creek. Okay. And is the road in a circle?
Uh-huh.
And is the pavilion inside the circle?
Uh-huh.
All right. So would you, with this pen, just put a P where the pavilion is?
Witness marks P.
And then would you just draw where the road is by making
Witness draws.
Just a double line like that all the way around?
That's
to where you were, where you think it is.
okay. Well, this is where Tabby came in from.
That's
the bridge.
okay.
And then there's the road.
Okay, and where is the entrance to the park? Where you got the X?
Uh-huh.
And you say there's a bridge?
Yeah.
And where does the bridge lead to?
It leads across to the pool.
Okay, and then mark where the golf course would be.
Witness marks diagram.
Just put golf course.
Okay.
All right, now, is this area lit?
The area is right here where she was walking.
And is it lit?
From the pool, there's the pool, and there's a parking lot there that's got halogen lights.
All right, and where is that? Strike that. When she walked across the bridge, at what point in time did you acknowledge her, and did she say something to you, or did you say something to her?
I didn't until she got probably within here from the pavilion.
Okay, now.
And that would be where the little...
Why don't you mark, you've got an X there, why don't you draw a circle around it?
Witness complies.
And that would be how far from where you were?
7,500 feet.
75 to 100 feet?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then how was the acknowledgement made?
Hey, Tabby, motions, and she changed direction and started walking towards me.
Did she see you?
Yeah.
Okay, when you say she changed directions, what do you mean?
She was walking towards the hospital, like this way, like...
Towards the bathrooms?
Yeah, but... Yeah, like she was going to the hospital or something, or to the bathroom or whatever. That's the way she was headed. And then when she got right here and seen me, she turned and walked that way.
All right. Now, how far is the hospital from where the bathrooms are?
75, 100 yards.
Okay, so the hospital's just on the other side of the park?
Yep, just on the other side of the baseball fields.
Okay, and so when she walks over there, what did you say anything to her, like, where are you going?
Yeah, it was like, hey, what's up?
And what'd she say?
She's like, nothing, what are you doing? I'm like sitting here drinking, bored out of my mind, just bullshitting like that. And I was like, here, you want to hit this? And I handed her my bottle. She was like, ah. And she took a little sip of it, handed it back to me. She sat down for a minute, and then she stood back up. She was real antsy, and walking around, and then come and sit back down. And that's pretty much it. And that's when we seen Liz pull in.
Well, did she say anything to you about where she was going?
Uh-uh.
Did you ask her where she was going?
Nope.
Did she ask you why you were there?
Uh-uh.
When you say she stood up like she was antsy, what do you mean?
Like, she was just, like, antsy. I don't know, like hyper. Hyper, basically.
Well,
Like, she couldn't sit still.
like she needed to be someplace?
Well, not like she needed to be anywhere. Like, in my opinion, like she was doing some coke or something, like that.
So you think she was on some coke?
I don't know, but
Do you know her to take coke?
yeah,
Huh?
yeah,
You're sure?
yeah.
How do you know?
You asked me earlier how I originally, even if anybody had known that me and Tabby hung out, like at the party that we went to, that her little sister was at, and everything. She smoked meth with me on occasion there, and she's done coke with me, yeah, maybe once or twice. Two later at the Red Carpet Motel. We had a couple parties out there too.
Who was at that party?
Lots of people. Shane Smalls, Matt Closer. I'm trying to think, man. I'm trying to think who was all out there. I don't even remember who was all out there. I know Brian was out there. Brian Bone was out there.
Okay, so you're there with her for how long before you say Liz came?
15 to 20 minutes.
Okay, now draw with the dotted lines where you first saw Liz's car and the direction that it took.
Okay.
Okay, and draw with an arrow the direction or the spot where the car
Was facing.
was going.
Witness complies.
All right, so when the car was, that means the car was driving literally all the way around the pavilion on its.
It made it all the way around, yeah.
Okay, and so that means that the driver's side would have been closest to you. Is that correct?
Uh-huh.
So you were able to see
Uh-huh.
who was driving the vehicle.
I knew who was driving the vehicle.
Okay, well, you definitely knew because you could see who was driving the vehicle.
Well, because I seen the ponytail through the hat.
In the car?
Yeah.
Okay, and you recognize the vehicle as being Liz's vehicle.
Right.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, could you tell how many passengers were in the vehicle?
I could only see of one.
At the time it was?
Just one.
Moving or?
At the time it was moving, there was one passenger, and that's all I could see.
Okay, now is the pavilion open all the way around?
Yeah, there's columns, but it's open, yeah.
And did you literally, with your eyes, follow the car all the way around the pavilion?
No, I followed it. I followed it when it first came in until I could see whose car it was, because I thought it was a cop. I was going to put my liquor up. And then once I seen who it was, I was just like, phew, whatever. And then it got around, and then when it parked, I looked over because I was wanting to see who was in it. And then Tabby was asking me who it was. And then I told her.
Okay, and what did she do when you told her who it was?
Well, I assumed that she knew it was Liz because, we know Liz's car. Anybody knows Liz's car. But I think she was assuming the fact of who the passenger was. And I told her, I was like, it's just Liz and Neff. Looks like they're just going to get high or something. Because that's when they started to walk back behind here to the to the concrete slab.
Okay, well, let's, once again, let's go back. Okay, so she comes in. All of a sudden, now there's a car coming. And who says what first?
About just seeing a car?
Yeah, you thought it was a cop.
Yeah, I said something first.
And then all of a sudden, then you said what?
I was like, damn, is that a cop? And then we just waited. Nobody said anything. And then it kept coming. And then I don't recall who it was, to be honest with you. We might have both kind of just said, it's Liz,
Okay.
It wasn't like, I don't really recall.
Did you or do you recall whether she knew it was Liz or you told her it was Liz?
Yeah, see, I don't recall.
Okay, but as it proceeded on around, at some point in time, there was a conversation for sure that it was just Liz.
Yeah.
For sure, that took place.
Right.
Okay, and then was there any conversation? This is before Liz gets out of the car with Neff. Was there any conversation between the two of you as to why she might be at the park?
Hang on, I lost my place. Mine goes from 70 to 79. Hang on.
Yeah, mine did that too, and I had to rearrange.
That's what I'm looking
Go to
for.
71.
Where is it at?
Mine was like towards the very back.
Okay, hang on. Okay, I got it.
And then you'll be in that same area for a couple pages because it was messed up for 4 or 5 pages. Okay. So, okay, you want me to read that question again?
Yeah.
Okay, and then was there any conversation, this is before Liz gets out of the car with Neff, was there any conversation between the two of you as to why she might be at the park?
Before they got out of the car?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, and when they did get out of the car?
What was?
You remember saying something like, well, they're probably going to go get high. So then you're saying that Tabby for sure asked you, well, why do you think they're here?
Yeah, she did ask me that when they got out of the car. She was like, what are they doing? That's what she said.
Okay, so clearly she wasn't expecting Liz.
No.
To be there.
No.
Would you agree with that?
I'd agree with that.
And clearly, I think you said something like in your previous statement that for 10 minutes you didn't really pay any attention to them.
Yeah.
So very clearly she acted like she didn't care whether she was there or not, right?
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah, she seemed like it didn't bother her.
Yeah, and she didn't care whether she saw her later or didn't see her later. Is that?
Yeah, she didn't indicate like, hey, let's go talk to Liz or anything.
Okay, so her actions were basically,
okay, good.
I don't care if she's here or she's not here. Is that?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I think you might have even said something in one of the statements. I think they asked you, Drew, after Tabby initially said, what are they doing? And you said probably going to get high. Did she say anything else about, and then your response was, no, just kind of, all right, whatever, hand me the bottle, is that right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now at this point in time, did you still feel like she was acting like she was
antsy,
or did she?
Yeah, she never
kind of settle after a while?
No, she never did. She it was like she couldn't sit still. It wasn't like, I don't know. I might have just noticed it because I didn't want to move, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think it might have been because you were so mellow and you were so
Maybe. Maybe.
that the difference
Maybe.
of any movement would have been a lot more than what you were doing?
That's what I'm saying. It just seems like she wouldn't sit still.
Okay, all right. So Neff gets out with Liz. Now let's go back to Neff and Liz. I think you indicated previously that you had seen them together maybe before you went to Florida in March, but really you hardly saw them together at all after you got back. Is that
Right.
correct?
Right.
And so after you got back, although you know that they'd been together previously, when you saw them together, did you have any thoughts about the fact of, well, I haven't seen these guys together for a long time or anything like that?
No, I didn't pay no attention to them, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I try to stay out of other people's business so I don't,
Okay.
you know.
But you would agree that it is a fact that you really had not seen them together since you got back from Florida?
Since I got back, right, except for when now I seen them individually, you know. Neff came over once to buy some stuff for me, you know.
Okay, now when Tabby and Neff get out of the car, how far are they away from you guys in the pavilion?
What's that now?
When you say not Tabby, but when Liz and Neff got out of the car,
Uh-huh.
how far were they away from you and Tabby as you guys were sitting in the pavilion?
I'd say probably a good football field's length, about 100 yards.
100 yards?
Yeah.
Okay, do you think that they saw you all in the pavilion?
I don't really know. I don't I know that there's a good chance they didn't. I don't know that cuz a lot of times when I'm in there, that's part of the reason I'm in there, cuz where I sit at, a lot of people can't see me,
Okay,
you know.
all right. So now they walk from where you have designated on our Exhibit A, where you have car, is that right?
Uh-huh.
And they get out and they walk to where?
Right here.
And you put an X with a circle around it where you got concrete slab, is that right?
Yep.
And did they walk directly from the car to the concrete slab area?
Well, see, I don't know because the only reason that I say that is because I was implicating the fact because they were walking this way, and as they started walking that way, that's when Tabby asked me, "What are they doing?" That's when I said, "Probably going to get high," because that's where everybody goes to that concrete slab.
Okay.
Okay, you can jump down and nobody can see you. You can jump down like 6 feet.
Okay.
And that's what I said. And as soon as they got to here and I told her what I had to say, they're probably going to get high, then I didn't look back over there.
So as soon as they were on their way, when you say here, as soon as they got to here, you're talking about halfway there?
Yeah, about right. Yeah, about halfway to the. Yeah,
Then you didn't notice them anymore?
didn't pay attention.
Okay, and did they acknowledge you or Tabby's presence at any time that they were walking towards the slab?
No,
Okay, and then did you ever look in their direction again, like in the area of the slab?
I probably looked over. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I don't remember seeing them. I don't. I don't remember specifically looking to see if they're still there or not.
Okay, if a person was at the slab and looked in the pavilion, how far was the slab from the pavilion?
Even further, probably 150 yards.
Okay, is there any reason with the lighting conditions the way they were, is there any reason you think that a person would be able to identify who was sitting in the pavilion?
No, no, not from there. Not from the slab. They couldn't tell. I wouldn't think.
The pavilion is a dark area, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fairly dark, but some nights there's lights on.
Well, but that night that you were there, they weren't.
There was only a couple lights on there. Not all of them are on. You know what I mean? There's a couple of them that'll be on.
But you just testified or stated under oath that you sat in a position that tried to put you.
Where, well, I sit in a position where people can't see me.
Can't see you?
Right.
Okay, and you stayed in that position the whole time you were at the pavilion with Tabby, is that correct?
Well, right. I mean, I don't so much mean it's like no matter what angle you're at, you can't see me. I mean, you can see me if you're looking for me. You know what I mean?
And you could see if you were closer than a football field?
Yeah, right.
But
as far as being way over there and not knowing I'm here, I doubt you're going to see me.
okay.
But still, I sit still too.
Okay, all right. So now at what point in time do you think you see Yates?
When Liz and Neff are over here.
Okay, now on the diagram, draw a line with.
Hang on, I'm going to that part. Yeah. What page are we on?
Should be 78.
That's what I thought.
Should be the last page on the last square on that page. On page 20 or on page.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Now
on the okay, draw a line with.
Oh no, 76, 77. Okay, black ink or something?
Like with arrows on it, like that.
Okay.
Continuous arrows showing the direction of where they were the next time.
Okay, this is where I saw them, was right about at the road.
Okay, now were they walking at this point in time?
Not yet. They were right here, and that's when they hollered at us.
When you say they, who's they?
Yates, Neff, and Liz.
And you have no idea how Yates got there?
No, I have no clue.
Okay, you never saw another car come in, right?
Uh-uh.
All right, and that's when I think you said in your statement that Elizabeth yelled.
Uh-huh.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, and what did Elizabeth yell?
She yelled for Tabby and motioned her hand like this.
And how far from where you And how far from where you got those?
That's about 50 yards.
Arrow marks right now.
About 50 yards.
All right, and do you think that they could see you? Page 79.
Yeah, there we go. I'm sure, yeah, especially the angle, because now they're on my side of the pavilion. Because, see, the pavilion shaped like this. I sit in this corner right here. You know what I mean? And they can see me like that pretty well. That's pretty much the only spot you can really see me from, is if you're driving right here. Like if somebody was driving around, they could see me sitting in there. If they got over to this side, it's too far away, they can't see me.
To the concrete slab side, they couldn't see you.
Right. But
But on the west side, they could see.
if they're driving through, or if they're driving through on the road right here, you could see me.
All right. Now, so she says, Tabby, come here.
Yeah, she was like, Tabby, and just put her hand like that, motioning.
All right. Then what does Tabby say to you?
Stood up, and I wondered what she wants. Like, let's find out. And we started walking.
Okay, you guys walked over there together.
Uh-huh.
And then what happened?
Well, as we were walking that way, they started walking again.
And keep drawing the arrow lines.
And they kept going
Until they stop?
to there.
Okay, and so where you stopped your arrow lines is where they stopped, right?
Yep, if that's
And that is
the shooting spot.
the shooting spot. Now, when you got there, tell me how many people were positioned.
Man, that's what's rough. Unless I'm there, you know what I mean? It gets me twisted.
Okay, well you got there, and how long was it before Elizabeth began saying anything to Tabby?
As soon as we got there.
And
Pretty much, I mean, yeah, as soon as we got there.
okay, and what kind of tone of voice was she using?
Well, she's a pretty stern one.
Okay, well, was she yelling?
Yeah, where the F is my stuff at? B.
I mean,
That's what she said.
was she screaming it or
Yeah, well, yeah.
as loud as she could?
Yeah.
Okay, stop a second.
It
he can
doesn't make
remember.
any sense.
Okay, so he can remember times, what was said, where they parked, who was in the car, all this stuff, but he can't remember how people were standing.
Or what the conversation was. So this is why people think that his story was given to him. Because he can remember places and people, but when it comes to the conversations and stuff and what was said, that's where he struggles.
Important stuff.
The important stuff. That's the small details. That's what he struggles with. And no wonder why people thought or think that other people told him what to say.
Right. Moving on.
Oh my goodness. It's so hard.
Okay, and what? Huh?
It's so hard to read this.
I know.
All right.
And what did Tabby say?
What are you talking about? What shit? Barn? And then she got hit. What
This
the
is
heck?
Bam.
Bam. Okay, so
Okay.
I don't. He says, I don't. What are you talking about? What shit? Bam. And then she got hit. So he can't even tell you what she said. There. He says, I don't. Like, I don't know. And then he blurts out.
And then she says, what are you talking about?
She responds with, what are you talking about? What shit? And then, bam, she gets hit.
Right.
Janet, that's what we said. If he was drunk and high, I can't see him remembering anything. Exactly. Okay, go ahead.
Now, where are you?
Okay, in conjunction to,
Where are you standing?
like, where everybody's at. This is,
I meant without doing,
I don't,
here's what I want you to do. This will be very simple because
okay,
when we get in the courtroom, you're going to be sitting on a witness stand, okay? So you can talk about to your right or left, or in this deposition as if you are
okay,
standing there, okay? So based upon where you were located,
right,
was Elizabeth to your right or to
yes.
your left?
She was to my right, but
And was Tabby to your right or to your left?
left.
And was Neff or Yates?
On both sides of me, and I don't know which one was on which side.
Okay, immediately. They both immediately, as soon as you got there, they took positions to either side of you.
It kind of felt like that, but I don't know if that's how it was. Elizabeth and Tabby were in front of me.
And they were facing each other?
Yeah, in front of me.
And you were like between them?
Yeah, but backed away from them.
Right.
Yeah.
But backed away from them. How far back away from them?
A couple feet.
All right. And so Elizabeth is facing which direction? Do you know? North, south, east, or west?
She's facing towards the golf course.
Okay.
So she's facing that way, over there, facing this way.
All right. Was her back to the creek?
Her back was to a tree.
Okay. If she was facing towards the golf course, that's facing west. So if there was no way if her back couldn't have been to the creek, or she would have been facing south.
Right. She would have had to have been facing towards the hospital
The pavilion, right.
The pavilion, if her back was to the creek.
Was to the creek, right. So why did he even ask that?
I don't know. That was dumb. It's like he didn't know where he was talking about.
Right. Well, is her back towards the creek, or is it?
Her back was to a tree.
Well, is her back towards the creek, or is it?
Her right arm.
Her right arm was towards the creek. Okay, and so that would be Tabby's left arm.
Uh-huh.
Was towards the creek.
Uh-huh.
And you and the two boys were then closer to the pavilion?
We were facing the creek.
Right, closer to the pavilion.
Uh-huh.
Is that correct?
Uh-huh. Okay, time out. Does it seem like when he doesn't understand the question, he just says, uh-huh?
Uh-huh.
Drives me nuts. And every time he says, well, you know.
I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. Spit it out, boy. Okay, go ahead.
And so when Tabby said she didn't know what she was talking about, you say Liz pulled out the gun and hit her. Is that right?
I don't know if she pulled it out or already had it in her hand. I don't know.
And what did you see her do?
She pistol whipped her with it.
Okay, so here's at the point in time where everybody needs to start paying attention.
Yes, close attention.
Okay. All right, now let's talk about that. What hand did she have it in? Her right hand or her left hand?
Her right hand.
Are you sure?
Yep.
And what side of Tabby's head did she hit her on?
She hit her on the left side of Tabby's head.
Okay. So with her right hand, she hit the left side of Tabby's head.
Uh-huh.
Is that what you were saying?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and where on her head did she hit her?
Just along the side somewhere. I don't know where the...
Okay, what happened to Tabby at that point?
Fell right to the ground.
Okay, when you said she fell right to the ground, how did she fall?
Like, it's on the videotape. They made me lay down, like, on her. She fell down, like, with her legs out this way, and to where she was kind of like, just like this, where she could turn around and look back up. You know what I mean?
All right, so when she fell, then to her right?
No, she looked back she looked this way towards her, yeah. When she fell down, she looked back at her like she had to look past the pavilion to look at Liz. You know what I'm saying? When she fell, she had to go like this, demonstrates, to see what, you understand how she fell now?
Shakes head.
No?
She had to look.
Like,
When she fell, was her face towards the creek or towards the pavilion?
that's what I'm saying. Her body was more towards the pavilion.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. She went like this to turn around and look.
All right, so when she's on the ground
Uh-huh.
and she's lying on the ground,
Not completely lying on the ground, but
she's not on her knees, not kneeling?
she was on the sides of her legs, on the sides of her legs, kind of holding herself, Yeah,
Holding herself up with which hand?
with both hands.
Okay, which side was she holding up with both hands?
This side of her body.
What side was closest to the ground? Her right side or her left side?
This side of her body. This side, her right side.
Okay, then what happened?
She turned around and, well, as soon as Liz hit her, I kind of started to move forward, to lunge at her or whatever. And that's when Neff and Yates grabbed onto me. And then Liz turned around and put a gun in my face and said, "Don't you effing move. Don't you say a effing word."
Okay, now she was like, had the gun in your face?
Like, all I could see was barrel. Like, that's it. All I could see was a dark hole.
Now hang on.
Time out. Yeah,
It's dark.
it's dark, but you can see
And
a
all he
black
could
hole.
see, exactly. Okay, well, are you saying that the barrel hole was exactly even with your eyeball?
Yeah, I'm saying it was in my eye.
Okay, and so then did she keep it there?
No, as soon as she said, "Don't move, don't say a effing thing," and then as she did that, she went back over to this and bang.
All right, so when she moved her hand away from your eye,
Uh-huh.
the gun was in her hand, is that correct?
Uh-huh.
And did you see it move?
Did I see the gun move?
Uh-huh.
I never really got a clear picture of the gun at all. except for the barrel of it.
Okay, so you didn't see her shoot Tabby then?
No. Yeah. I seen her move her arm like that, and then I remember her pulling the trigger. I remember the hammer getting pulled back
When was the hammer pulled back?
right before she shot her in the head.
Okay, so the hammer was not pulled back when she had the gun pointed towards you.
Right before she shot her in the head. Oh, hang on.
You missed some.
I don't think it could have been because she pulled it back when she turned her hand back.
Okay, when you saw her arm move, if you saw, did you see what the hell?
Did you saw her?
Did you saw her? You've used a gesture with your thumb.
Uh-huh.
Did you see her thumb?
Yeah.
Pull the hammer back.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you saw the gun or her,
Well,
you saw her thumb pull the
yeah,
hammer back,
right?
then you had to have seen the gun. Is that right?
I don't remember. Yeah, I seen the gun, but it's not like a clear nothing. It's like all I can remember is seeing real slow motion. I see up close a hammer going back, and then a poof, and then my head.
Poof. What's poof?
The shot going off.
The shot going off?
Yeah, like,
It was a loud shot, wasn't it?
yeah, X.
Or was it a soft? Was it soft? Was it just a little poof shot?
It was extremely loud.
Like a cannon?
It sounded like a damn cannon that close, yeah. And then I got hit in my eye with something, and I just looked down, and then I heard another shot go off.
Okay. And how many seconds between the two?
Enough to go bam, bam.
So like within a second.
Yeah,
The second shot was within a second.
yeah.
And how close was the gun to Tabitha's body?
Pretty close. It was like pushed up against it, but it was close.
Well, let's talk about. Was Tabitha still in the same position?
She was on the ground still.
She didn't change her position.
She was just turned around. This part of her body was not touching the ground.
This part being her right side?
Being her right side from her hip and up
Okay.
was not touching the ground.
And was supported by her arms?
And yeah,
Is that right?
right.
Uh-huh.
And she turned her body to look back at Liz.
Okay.
And as soon as she turned her body to look back, that's when she got shot.
Okay. And where you said you watched Liz's arm
Uh-huh.
and you saw it cocked. And where was the gun pointed?
Right at her head.
How big was the gun?
It was, I don't know, a gun, a normal sized pistol.
But for the purpose of this record, since we don't have a video camera on you, you're using your fingers and your hands.
Yeah, bigger than this pen, but I don't know.
Okay, the pin that you got there is 5 inches,
Yeah,
6 inches,
maybe about that big.
and you think it was longer than that?
It could have been much bigger. No, it couldn't have been much bigger.
But you think it was about, were you able to see the barrel of the gun?
I seen the barrel in my eye, but I didn't see how long the barrel was. No.
Do you know guns? Are you familiar with guns?
I mean, I know guns, but I'm not like one to say that that's what that was.
Well, do you know the difference between a revolver and a
Yeah, and semi-automatic, yeah.
semi-automatic?
And honestly, I never even paid attention to it. That detail is just not even in my head. And I try to go over it and try to retrace it in my mind, and I can't. I can't picture the gun. All I can remember is, see, I remember like it was up close, like I had microscopic vision on her thumb, and I remember seeing that hammer go back, and then I remember just like could see like the smoke from the gun, and I could, you know what I mean? It just
All right.
poof, just blew up real quick.
All right. So you don't know the color of the gun. Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't know the color. I don't know whether it was a revolver. I don't know whether it's a semi-automatic. I don't.
But you do remember that it clearly had a barrel that stuck out away from the hand that was holding the handle of the gun. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
You want to check comments?
Yeah.
Because I see them rolling.
Yes, I do. Okay. So, in a deposition, it's different from trial. In a deposition, the attorney can say specific things to get the answer that they want. So, yes, leading the witness. I found this out after doing some research. When they're in court, they cannot lead the witness.
Right.
But
Depositions are different than on the stand.
But when they're doing a deposition, in order to get all the information that they need to ask the right questions in court, they can lead the witness and give specific details in their questions in the deposition. But when we see things on TV, they're always like leading the witness, you know, and that's right. They can't do that in court, but they can do it in a deposition. It's so weird. He was coached by two certain people traveling to Clinton, Illinois. Let's see. Janet says, I really want to understand why the police are taking this as a correct statement. Are they dumb too? Yes. Well, I can't see the police are. But you got to remember, this goes along with Jay Rich's story and the police's story of what they believe happened. So they're gonna go with what he's saying. Pity they can't all be given a truth drug. This makes me so angry. I agree.
Man.
I agree. It's in the book for all to see. This murder case was mishandled in a huge way from day one. They could have let us identify her by seeing her. They told us the bullet did so much damage. A year later, we finally seen the autopsy pics from someone other than the prosecutor or detective. This wasn't the case. We could have had an open casket. How awful for you. Where do I buy the book and its title, please? There's so much that has to stay behind the scenes that we can't share publicly on this murder. Carly says, I'm learning so much about this case. Thanks, Marv. Oh, you're welcome. Janet, go to here. Let me find Josh's. Facebook page. Okay, I got it right here. So for ordering information on the book, email what happened to Tabby at gmail.com and let Josh know that you would like a copy of the book. He will tell you how much it is and how to pay for it, and then order it for you and send it to you. I still want to know. Okay, so he says she was on her right side with her both hands on the ground, but her right hip and legs was
Her right hip was
still on
her
the
right
ground.
hip was on the ground, and she was twisted, and both of her hands were on the ground, but her torso was not.
Right. Talk about twisted, and then she had to look back like this.
Right.
Oh my God.
But what I don't understand is Andrew said she had to look past the pavilion.
Right.
No. Because when she would have fallen, her head would have been, the top of her head would have
She would have been looking back at the golf course.
No. She would have been looking towards 19. She would have been looking towards the entrance to the park.
When she looked backwards?
No, when she looked backwards to look back towards Liz, she would have been looking towards the creek.
Okay.
But when she fell and how she fell and the way she was laying, if she would have looked straight ahead, she would have been looking at the pavilion. But the way she turned her head, she would have had to turn her head back towards the entrance to the park to look back at Liz.
Right.
But he said she had to look past the pavilion to look back at Liz.
Yeah. That whole sequence of what he's describing to me just does not make sense. And Boston says, I'm just wondering, why didn't anyone run, call 911? Am I missing something? That's the question, Boston. Andrew says that after this happened, he immediately ran the 15 minutes home. Now,
and I don't believe the route he took either.
Yeah, and the other three carried her body all the way around the outer edge of the park until they put it in the creek.
And now, mind you, where the shooting supposedly took place, there is a trailer court about 100 yards away, and to the east, and a row of houses another 100 yards to the north.
Right. And we do have reports of gunshots in the testimony, in the depositions, but it does not
at the time
line up with this time.
Supposedly, the gunshots in the statement was at 8:30. Is that what they said?
I think 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah. And by that time, they weren't even at the park.
Exactly, Boston. If you just saw your friend get shot, you wouldn't be running all the way home. You would have been running to the nearest place to call 911.
Which would have literally been right across the street.
Right.
And he ran by probably 50 houses. If he went that way. I still don't believe he went that way. I think he ran the creek bed all the way home.
Yeah, I know that you had told me that.
Which I know. Okay, so here, let me point this out. In this deposition, he said that, or in the deposition that the statement that he gave, saying that he ran north on Main, and then he cut back to the east and ran that way, right?
Right.
But then I don't know if it's this deposition or the next deposition, he says he ran the creek bed to Black's Bridge.
Right.
Black's Bridge is nowhere on Main Street. It's across 19 and about a half a mile east of the bridge going by the entrance to the park.
Right.
It's in between Main Street and the bypass where McDonald's is. It's about halfway in between there. So I think he ran the creek bed all the way home, because that creek runs right into country living.
All right, so we've got 14 regular pages to read, and on each page is four small.
4 more pages.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to finish this up tomorrow night and
Yeah, we're
give
an
the
hour and a half
autopsy, or not the autopsy, the polygraph results tomorrow night. Gunshots reported. The time frame doesn't match. The prosecutor should have never allowed this be a story to be considered without evidence. It's a story. I agree, Mark. I agree. I don't know why they ever gave him the deal to not charge his father with the death of Shane Jackson for his testimony. Nothing he said in here goes along with any of the other information that we're going to hear about. Yeah. It just, and the way he's answering these questions really bothers me. It just does.
Okay, so Boston says Xanax makes you like emotionally on a flat line. I don't know what effect it would have if you witnessed something like this. Like, is that why he didn't stop to call 911? Well, according to him, the last time he took Xanax was, now, if the shooting happened at 10:30 or 10:45,
Right.
like he says, the last time he would have taken Xanax would have been 4 hours prior. He snorted Oxycontin about, well, according to him, it said about 15, 20 minutes before she was shot.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I don't care who you are. Seeing something like that and just snorting an Oxycontin, I really don't think it would have scared you sober.
No, absolutely not.
Especially not just have snorted it 15, 20 minutes, maybe even a half an hour before it happened.
Right. And Mark's right on this too. There's more proof that she was dumped there than being killed there. Because we know for a fact, by viewing the autopsy pictures, that she had a lot of blood in her hair. So we know that blood was coming out of the wound in her head. And if they walked her along the creek bed on the outer side of the park,
which is how many feet?
Oh, a lot.
Didn't Josh say it was 11 football fields?
Yes. So if they walked that far and stopped twice and put her down, there should have been a blood trail that they could follow exactly where she was shot at and exactly where they moved her.
And even if there wasn't a blood trail, there still should have been blood where she was shot.
Where she was shot and where they put her down twice.
Right. Where they
So there
stopped.
might not have actually been a trail, like you said, yes. But there should have been blood at where she was shot, where
they
they put her
stopped.
down the first time. They walked again, put her down the second time, had a cigarette, and then walked her to where they were going to put her in the creek. So there should have been blood there, because that is when
At the creek bed. Right.
that is when Liz went through and took her clothes and her purse and all that.
Right.
And then they supposedly walked her down and put her in the creek.
Right.
So there should have been 1, 2, 3, at least four spots with a good size amount of blood, and no blood was found at that park. So that is why all this time people are talking about the fact that she was not killed at the park, that she was dumped at the park. Yeah, and Boston even says correct. Yeah.
I think she said correct about what I said about not being scared sober.
Right. All right, guys. Tomorrow we will be back at it. We will finish the last 14 pages. And give Andrew Bush's polygraph results tomorrow night. Hey, Sterling, how are you? And then, let's see, tomorrow's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Thursday, I'm probably going to do a live on another story. And then Friday, we're probably going to just have a fun night, because we haven't had one of those in a while. So then we will start up on Sunday with Kyle Neff's statement. And the reason I say Sunday is because Saturday I have to drive up to Minnesota again and
take my bestie back to college.
Yeah, my daughter is going back to college, so I have to drive up to Minnesota to Hamline University and then get her all settled and drive back that same day. So.
And everybody needs to know there's just as many reports and depositions and statements with Kyle as there is with Andrew.
Absolutely.
If not a few more.
Absolutely.
And they're a little longer.
Yeah, that I would not be surprised if that took us a full.
Maybe Sunday we ought to do a 2-hour live.
Yeah. I was going to say, otherwise it's going to take us a full 5 to 7 days just to read all of this stuff. So yeah, Sunday we'll plan on 2 hours. But tomorrow night we're going to finish up with Andrew Bush. So join us back here at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. And thank you everyone who joined us tonight, and to anyone who is going to be watching the replay. If you would like to donate to the channel, you can use the PayPal. I'm just looking here.
You might want to remind people that you've put questions on the page.
Oh, yeah. I will put my PayPal link on the Justice for Tabitha page, but Also, what I have been doing is as I'm rereading through my notes and through depositions or statements or things like that, I am putting questions out on the Tabitha page. And I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about here.
And even if people are watching this on the replay, if you don't know the answer to the question and you think somebody might, share it to your page.
Yeah. So this is the Justice for Tabitha. If you do not have this page, I'm going to post the link in the chat. But as you go through here, I put in little comments. People can, make comments on that. And then I also put in questions. So we have family members of Tabitha's who's in this group. We have family members of Michael's who's in this group. We have family members of Elizabeth Balser in this group. So, not all of them talk. They just watch or listen, but some do. And a lot of friends of Tabitha's are in this group who do make comments and answer some things or whatever. So if you're interested in seeing that, please join the page. We've gotten over 300 new members of the Facebook group page in the past 2 weeks. So we really
and if people aren't
appreciate
comfortable leaving, if people aren't comfortable with leaving a comment on the page, there's also a chat, and you can leave a question or comment on there. And Marv and myself and Mark and Buffy are answering questions, and we're pretty religious on it.
But the biggest thing too is if you want to post on the group page, you can do it, and you can post anonymous. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
Don't post though. You did that last time.
No, I did that, and people are like, "What was that?" So all you do is you go up here and you click the button, and it will not show your name on the post. It's a way to protect your identity and not reveal your identity. And then you can create the post, ask any questions or whatever, and then we will answer it and comment on it. So, oh, thank you, Carly. There's the PayPal link. I have to get that in my banners and stuff so that I can just flash it across the screen. But, all right, everybody. We will see you tomorrow night to finish this up. And then make sure that Sunday you join in, because once we start reading Kyle's statements and depositions, you're going to see how the story between the two main witnesses really are different. Mark says, don't forget, folks, if you Google search Tabby Shuck Raines, it will show all we have online about Tabitha's unjustified murder. Yes, absolutely. So, have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.